So now we're going to talk about the 100-watt skin demo. So that's a particular question. I think it's our most asked question, that what is 100-watt skin? And for me, 100-watt skin is healthy, glowy, gorgeous skin, which whether I'm doing a heavier base or lighter base, you'll see throughout this my tutorials that it always ends up being a very radiant finish. I don't like doing skin very matte. I like it very glowy. So I'm going to show that to you today. And I'm going to start by using the Star Skin VIP Biocellulose face mask. This is one of those that I use quite a bit of as well. So we're just going to open it. Now what I do before I even apply the mask is that it has a lot of serum inside. So I'm going to put my fingers inside and I'm going to actually apply that on her face. And I keep this mask on for a good 15 to 20 minutes depending on how much time I have. I mean, even if I don't have any time and someone comes in, then I try to at least have it on for a good, 10 minutes. But ideally, you want to leave it on for 15 to 20 minutes on the face. So I've kind of rubbed in that serum. Now I'm going to take the mask and then going to apply it on her face. So you'd have to adjust it depending on, she's got a smaller face, so I'm just going to adjust it, drag it up, and we're going to leave this on for a good 15 to 20 minutes. Just make sure it's stuck, all the areas of the skin, the sides of the nose, eyes, chin, lips, and we're going to leave it on for a good little while before we start skin. So now it's been about a good 15-20 minutes. I'm just going to remove this off her face now. So now if she was just going to bed after this, I would rub the serum on her face and then just put a lot of moisturizer on top to get the best benefit of skin mask. That's a tip I give in my skincare class as well. But before makeup, what you're going to do is, now if you can see, her skin is already looking nice and radiant. So just go back and forth like that. It's looking nice and radiant, looks quite pretty. I'm going to remove the excess serum now before I prep her skin, because if you try to put makeup on top of this, it's not going to long term sit very well. So I'm just going to take a wipe right now, and I've taken some Bioderma on a baby wipe, and I'm just removing it from her face. And make sure you remove the serum well, because remember the products on top, because this is skincare product on the face right now, and it's a heavy duty one that you kind of use to nourish the skin, etc. But now we want to go into makeup, and we want to go into more long lasting makeup, so you don't want anything that is going to interfere with the durability of the makeup. And sometimes these serums, etc., will not allow for makeup to last long or sit very well. So I do remove it completely before I do my brides or clients or models, whoever I've done this for. Make sure you remove it from the eyebrows. I'm making sure from every area. And what sometimes the wipe in Bioderma can also do is, not that I'm a fan of makeup wipes for removing makeup, but I do like it to give it a good scrub. There's some tint on her mouth also. I'm just removing that as well. So any excess product on the face, etc., before we start, we're going to make sure we remove all of that. So it's clean canvas that you start your makeup on. So now her face is nice and wiped. We wiped all the serum off. You can tell already, because of the nice face mask here, there's a shininess, almost like a dewiness to her face. And I'm going to now start building my makeup. So the first thing I'm going to do is just spray some rose water on her face. Just do this for hydration. It's also very refreshing. I tend to keep it in the fridge so that it's nice and cool on the face before I start makeup, right? Then I'm going to put some Rose Gold Skin Mist by Farsali. Again, just getting that hydration in. And a lot of products that have kind of now a glowy kind of effect on them just add to that finish of the skin, because 100 watt skin is all about, I've done her wedding makeup as well. I think I did her walima makeup, and even then, and I did a wedding, I remember a bridal campaign on her that went viral, and we did some gorgeous like looks and very dewy skin. That is ideally what you want to achieve once you get into any kind of skin, be it her skin or all the other tutorials you will see during the class. It's all about having that gorgeous glowy skin. I'm going to now use 𝐼𝐸 Rose Gold Elixir. It's like an oil. Now for someone with her skin, because her skin is normal, it doesn't really have a lot of pores, etc. I would use this product for normal skin or even dry skin, but I wouldn't use this necessarily on combination or oily skin. So just a note there. So you would skip this step for someone who has slightly more oily combination skin, but I'm going to apply it liberally on her face. Always remember the neck as well, that's a part of the face. So you want to get a very glass skin like effect here. So I'm going to apply L'Oreal's Infallible Primer on top, and I'm going to use the mattifying one because we want it to be a balance between looking like it's dewy but not look like it's oily, right? So I'm just taking some of that on top before I start my makeup to give a slight matte finish, and also to make the makeup hold and last longer. Sometimes on top of a lot of these oils, I feel makeup doesn't hold very much if you don't do a good primer. It can sometimes eat away at the makeup, and that's not ideal. So now I'm going to start building layers. So for a lot of the other demos, I'm going to do a lot of concealing before the foundation. With 100 watt, I'm going to also show you a reverse effect. So I'm going to start by using a thin layer of just Illuminator on her face. One of my favorites is this Hollywood Flawless Filter by Charlotte Tilbury. I use this quite a bit for my brides. It's become a favorite with me. So I'm taking some of it on my palette, and I'm going to start building some coverage on her face. So this is like a tinted moisturizer with an illuminator. You can put it on top of the makeup. I use it on top and at the base of the makeup to really give a great glow. Just buffing that, and if you see this brush, I'm kind of going in circular motions and really getting it into the skin, not letting it just stay on top. I always take a damp sponge and I'm going to pat that onto her skin. And with the sponge also, it's all about pressing the product into the skin so it doesn't lay right on the top. It starts to get absorbed. Just turn this way. So as you can see already, there's a great kind of a glowiness and a translucent kind of finish that's happening on her face. Right, so once I'll do this, I'm going to take some Tarte Shape Tape in medium sand, which is a little darker than her tone. We've been discussing color correction. So for someone with her tone, she's a fairer tone. I've used different tones throughout the class, so you guys see different colors of skin also. And on her, medium sand would do the trick. Upar dekhna. So now I'm going to go where I need to just conceal, and I'm going to keep it very light and thin, because remember, this look is all about her looking like she has great skin without a lot of product on her face. So a lot of times when you see a lot of Hollywood actresses, or you see a lot of actresses in general, even Bollywood, you'll notice that they don't wear makeup like Instagram, how it's popular on Instagram now, which is, in my opinion, just too much makeup. It's all about that thin, flawless, look. I'm just going around all the areas where I see there may be a little bit more discoloration. So that's around the mouth, under the eyes, over the eyes, on the sides of her nose. Fair skinned people, just look straight again. They tend to have more pink areas also on the face, slightly broken capillaries, etc. If she had more red on her face, sometimes like I said with rosacea, I would have used a green color corrector, but she doesn't. She doesn't have that level of pinkiness on her face. But if she did, especially with fair skin, you would encounter that, then I would go ahead and use something that would be more green, like a green color corrector, before I would apply a light color corrector. So now I'm going to go back in with a Tarte Shape Tape in Porcelain Beige, okay, which is a lighter tone, because now I'm going to buff this on top of the areas I've applied the color correction in. So we're going to brighten around her eye area, just blending it on all those areas again, pushing the product in. I'm not swiping, I'm not pulling up and down, it's all about a press and dab in its exact area. And then I'm going to take it around the mouth also. And then around the side of the nose also. Look that side. Just blending it on all those areas again, pushing the product in. I'm not swiping, I'm not pulling up and down, it's all about a press and dab in its exact area. So a lot of times when you guys disclose, sometimes I see over blending happening, and it's basically not using the right pressure or the right, you know, not applying it just in the place and dabbing it, because that's what it should be all about. It shouldn't be about excessive blending unnecessarily, right? So I'm just adding a little bit of it at the bridge of the nose, whatever is left on the sponge, so I'm not taking extra. So as you can see already, her concealing has started to happen, a veil of colors already on her face. Again, if she goes back and forth, just go here and here so they can see how the light is hitting your face. A nice veil of colors happened on her face. So I'm going to use some Healthy Mix by Bourjois. And I'm going to use a smidge of the Huda Beauty Vanilla in 4 filter. Now a very little, and I'm going to mix even less in the actual foundation, because Huda tends to be very heavy, and I want this to read very light. So I'm going to keep it nice and soft. I'm also going to add Charlotte Tilbury's Wonder Glow into the foundation, which is also another illuminator. So I'm going to mix these a lot more and just take a little bit of the Huda and drag it into the mix. I'm mixing it on my palette, and I'm just using my MAC blending brush, face blending brush, and I'm going to start from the neck. Just using this to apply, and then to blend I'm going to use my beauty blender. Just applying it with this brush all over her face, right? And now as I start blending, I'm just going to take my sponge into the mix and start patting it on her skin. Just turn this way, making sure we get the sides of this face. It's tricky doing makeup for camera, because half the time you also need the model to look into the camera. I'm so used to looking either at the model or making them look into the mirror that I can see. So just make sure you turn around, do everything, all the areas. Now you can turn back towards the camera. I'm going to buff it into this side. So can you see a very lovely, flawless kind of a finish is now starting to happen on the face. Just going to go towards her neck also. Always kind of pull at the shirt if they're wearing something this close to the chest and neck. And I'm going to go under her chin also. Make sure, just look straight up, MJ. So make sure that we're getting all of that area covered as well. Close again. Now I'm going to take the excess that's on it, on the sponge only, of the mixture on top of the eye as well. So it's all one kind of color. I'm just mixing the 410 Pro Filter Foundation by Fenty into a little bit of the Huda to make a lighter color. I'm going to very lightly do contouring on her because I want this look to still read very fresh-faced and not overly contoured. So I'm going to take it, as you can see from her socket line here, I'm going to drag down my contouring line, always connecting it back to your socket, because if you can notice, this particular line going down and then going up is connected to your socket. So I'm just connecting it back, dragging it down to do a very soft contour. So just kind of slightly done that softly. And now with the beauty blender that we blended the foundation with, I'm just dabbing that all over the line. Again, I'm not swiping because then you'll move where you've placed the contouring color. Just where we've placed it, we're just going to dab our sponge. I'm going to take the same mix and now do a little bit right at the hollow of her cheek, but very softly again. And then the same mixture, I'm just taking some of it on my sponge and very lightly just applying it under her chin as well. As you can see, it's very, very soft, light contours that I've added to her face. And the star of the show for 100 Watt, I feel, is the blush or the rosiness that happens. I'm going to use Benefit's Love Tint, which is a stronger tint than the original just Bennett tint. It's like a stronger color, but it's still very transparent because it's a tint. So I'm going to make her smile, MJ smile, like that. Yeah, keep smiling. So where her cheek is naturally coming out, as you can see, when she smiles is where I'm going to apply this, and I'm using my sponge only, and I'm blending it all over where she would naturally blush. And because it's transparent, I feel it really goes with the entire color wardrobe of that 100 Watt. It's all about making her look like a pretty, almost doll-like finish on the face. And I feel that can be achieved very greatly with this particular product, right? And I'm also going to add some, just take some from the sponge, add just a smidgen on the lips also. So I have some on my palette. I'm just going to take some porcelain beige Tarte Shape Tape again. Just go on the sides of the nose to clean the nose contouring here a bit, and then go in the center like that as well. Just going to blend it from the side of the sponge so we don't get red on her, as the sponge has a little bit of red there. And I'm going to do the same in the center of her lid here as well. We're going to add a little bit of the white porcelain, because this is all just highlighting with your liquids, which is what I like. I'm a fan of doing that. So I'm just going to add that as well, right? Anywhere else we feel. So if you see right now, her whole entire face is nicely, we've kind of blended the foundation, contouring, color correcting, etc. Everything's happened, but it still looks very nice and natural. Adding some more on my palette. And now I'm going to mix that on top of this layer of foundation, even around the blush a little bit. I'm not going to go too much in the center because that's where I want the blush color to be strongest, but around it, we're going to blend this mixture. So I'm adding the Flawless filter again for a more stronger illuminating kind of quality. Avoid going on the blush and any contouring areas, but the rest of the face, so just blending that into the skin. So now I'm going to take some Laura Mercier and kind of dust it all over the face we've created. I'm going to use a blush brush. I don't want to do it with a sponge because I don't want it to look very strong. So the thing about 100 Watt skin is you can still see a few of her freckles, etc. whatever. It's about having a veil coverage. It's about celebrating your own skin. I don't want to cover it to the extent where it's completely flat. I'm not a fan of that. In the other look that I'm going to do on her, you'll see a more heavier application. Still very radiant, but I'll apply more foundation and show you how that would look as well. But for this one, I wanted to read very translucent. Okay, so I'm just going to put powder all over, open, but with a brush, because remember, with a brush it's more feathery and lighter, and then when I pack it in with a sponge in some of my other ones, you'll see that the coverage is more and more powder goes on, so it looks more done. Close your eyes. Always remember to do the top of the eye as well, especially now we're going to do a liner and a lip on her. Now first we're going to talk about eyebrows. So the first thing I'm going to do when I approach her eyebrow is I'm going to brush it up and get it into place. So it's gonna brush up, brush sideways to see what's happening with the shape of her brow. It's a nice slight bushy brow. I want to keep it nice and bushy, very natural looking. Like I said, I'm very anti Instagram eyebrows as well. It really annoys me, so I want to keep it very natural looking. So first we kind of brush it up. You guys already, we've discussed the eyebrows measurements. This is where it should start. This is where her arch should be. If you open your eye, MJ, look straight into the camera, and then the ending of the eyebrow should be side of the eye, side of the nose, and the eyebrow. So I'm going to take my Bobbi Brown color mahogany eyebrow color, and I'm taking this flat brush, and I'm going to start first doing the edge of her brow. So I'm just filling in the gaps right now, okay? Softly with a soft color, never with the black, with the slight brown. I've just brushed that over her eyebrow. And now I'm going to go to the bottom edge of her eyebrow. So here, and brush this area up as well. So like that. Right? Can you see how softly that's been filled? And I'm going to start doing the same with here. So always start with the outer edge. And remember, eyebrows are sisters, they're not twins. It's a very famous saying. My MAC trainers used to constantly talk about how they're not meant to they can give the illusion of being similar, but they don't have to be identical, which is what the Instagram trend tends to be like now as well. It's almost like a tattooed brow, and I don't like that. So I'm just filling that up, and then always starting from the bottom here, making sure that this top part of the eyebrow I never overfill or darken too much. You'll notice that if you darken this particular top part too much, what ends up happening, the person starts to look almost a little witchy. Okay, look at me, MJ. Right, so we're going to do the same here. And if I want to add more hair-like strokes now, I'm going to take my Benefit Brow Pencil number 4. I suggest everybody gets these because these are amazing. They come in 4 or 5 different colors. Great to kind of pencil in actual eyebrow hair. So now here in the front of her eyebrow, I'm going to actually create more strokes. Okay, so I'm just going up like that because I want to create almost hair-like strokes on her. Can you see? So I'm doing that. I'm not filling in it like a block. I'm not a fan of that. So I'm just going in and filling that area with some hair-like strokes to make it seem like the front is full of her own hair as opposed to a lot of powder and tattooed kind of an effect, right? And I'm just going to drag the same pencil out, make a more defined arch here. And when I'm doing that, I'm not making necessarily hair-like strokes. I'm kind of trying to create a they are hair-like strokes, but they're more dense around the edge because you want to make it just seem slightly more darker like that. All right, now I'm going to take the back of my brush and brush through this eyebrow. What the brushing through also does it kind of blends any of the powder, pencil that you've applied gets nicely meshed in there. Now I'm going to take some of my porcelain beige concealer. So now to clean on top of the brow that I've made, I'm going to take my flat brush here. This was the 900 by Makeup Atelier, and I'm just going to create a line really close to the brow to define it. So right next to where you want that eyebrow's top part to kind of show, we're applying concealer close to it to almost give it this neat finished kind of look, but again, like I said, in a very natural way. So to create a more stronger contrast, I'm just on the outer edge, not going to the front of the brow. The ends and outer edge, I'm just going to just look this way. Just the top part of it, I'm going to darken a bit with my mahogany to increase the contrast between the lightness of the concealer and the darkness of the brow. I'm just going to take some of this matte color. Actually, we can mix these two as well on a eye blending brush. And I'm mattifying the center of our eye. You can look straight into the camera. So blending that color on the socket. We already have defined the socket very softly with the liquid contouring we did. So now I'm going to take the same brush, dip it into this middle contouring powder and just darken this socket a bit. For a nice winged eyeliner, which is what I'm going to show you right now, I do prefer a liquid line more than any other kind of eyeliner. And for this, there's a lot of practice that is involved, guys. So a lot of times I even tell people to just almost make lines before you even go in, because it's all about opening that hand, making sure that it's going. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it, and I like keeping my liner very thin from the beginning and then slightly thicker from the end, but the movement itself is going to come the more you practice, right? Because it's a skill of the hand. So I'm dipping it into my tube a little bit. I'm going to just see how much is coming out right now. I'm going to make sure that MJ opens her eye. So open your eye, MJ, and look down. And I'm going to just pull her eyebrow slightly up. You can blink a little bit. Make sure you tell the client that they can't blink when you're making the actual line. Okay? Blink nahi karna. I'm going to start from the beginning and create just half of the eye first. So I'm controlling, and then I'm going to drag it out slightly. Now look straight again, and then down again. Now I'm going to start doing the filling. Ideally, I wouldn't speak when I'm doing eyeliner either, so I'm going to speak and then do it. So now where you can see the little gap here, I'm going to go ahead and start filling it slowly. Look back. Now I'm going to do the edge a bit. And I'm following the line of her own eye. I don't like to create, sometimes people put scotch tape, some people really angle it too high. I want to follow MJ's own natural eye line, okay? I'm going to start from the outer here, because especially working on this eye, my hand works, because here it's working like this, here it also would naturally do that. So I'm just trying to make sure that I'm going with the flow of my own hand. So I'm starting from the edge here, and then I'm going to build towards the inner part of her eye. So I'm just now adding finesse by going back and forth, right? So keep looking down, MJ. I'm going to take some of that porcelain beige tart shape and just clean around the edge here with my flat brush, because I'm going to see how far both the lines are going to go, balance them out. So your concealer brush on a flat brush, concealer on a flat brush becomes your best friend to just see how that's going to go. Now I'm going to go over the same line one more time. Anything that is not smooth, I'm just smoothing that with the tip of my eyeliner. All right, keep looking down, MJ. So I've created a basic structure of line on her eye. I'm just going to go to both her edges now, just darken those a little bit. And keep looking down, MJ, right now, sideways only. I'm gonna take a wet bud with some Bioderma on it. So these are just buds that are dipped in Bioderma. They give a very nice precise wing on the edges. So earbuds are like my favorite. Now on top of the wet bud, I'm gonna put a dry bud, because any wet patch doesn't take makeup very well. So with the dry bud, I'm just gonna go over it once as well before I apply any concealer there. And just make sure that the client is looking down while their eyeliner dries, because otherwise it hits the top part of the eye. Alright, I'm also going to sponge the area where my thumb has touched her face, creating a slight thumbprint both sides. So just going to blend that out also, and blend sides of the eyeliner also. Now I'm just going to look at her. Look at me, MJ, both sides. Now down again. Just this side, I feel the corner needs a slight more darkness. So I'm going to go back in. Just add that. So even in my principles of makeup, I talk about the fact that it's all about going back and forth. So it's not about adding one line immediately. You can see I took my time. So I'm not going to curl her lash because she already has a nice curl happening. Just look up again. I'm going to start applying my mascara, which is the Bad Gal mascara. That's like my favorite mascara currently. And I'm going to start brushing that towards up on from the root of her lash to the top of her lash. Now I'm going to take the smaller beauty blender, just make sure niche dekhna that it hasn't hit the top part anywhere, and look up. And I'm also just going to blend under her eye a bit because we haven't set the foundation. We're going to do that in the end, just setting that up for you right now. Now for the lip, for this kind of a look, because I'm showing you different techniques also combined in looks. For this look, we would want to do a nice statement red lip. So I'm going to start first with my Ben Nye, and I'm using his 𝐼𝐸𝐻, which is a very dark kind of a burgundy kind of a pencil, right? So I'm going to start by that. I'm going to start contouring her lip first. So we're going to follow the natural line of the lip until unless you're doing corrections that we'll speak about in theory, or we've already spoken about, or we shall be speaking about depending on where we're at. So now I'm going to go back in here, start creating the shape. I'm following her natural line. MJ, can you smile for us a little bit like that? Yeah. So keep them, or is tarah hi rakhna jis tarah aap smile kar rahe ho na. Jitna stretched lip rakhta hai, the easier it is to make those lines. So I'm just going to turn her around to me a little bit. So I'm using a darker color first. Stretch more to create the outline of this lip. Now I'm going to start shading the outer corners. So open your mouth, like that. Rakna, haan, aise. I'm just going to do the sides of this lip now. Stretch again. Stretch again, and now I'm going to go over on top of this color with that. Everywhere where we've contoured and applied this color, I'm going to go ahead and add some of the brick to that. Because even lipstick, a lot of times people ask me what color are you wearing. I very rarely, I don't think I ever wear just one color. It's always a mix of a good, 2 lip liners, 2 lipsticks. That's how you get those colors that people can't tell what they are. So shading that entire lip. before we apply any kind of lipstick. There's a lot of lip liner on her. Don't worry about the edges being smooth yet. We're obviously trying to put it inside the contour, but we're going to clean around the mouth also. I'm going to take some on my hand here, and I'm going to take my lip brush. This is an Atelier lip brush. You can use MAC, etc. as well. Just a good lip brush. So I'm going to take some on my lip brush, stretch your lip. I'm going to start painting from the outside in. Making sure that the edges are also getting the color. Just to the lower edge here as well. Right, and now I'm going to go in with Huda Beauty's Demi Matte in Boy Collector, which is a very strong red, and start layering that on top of this entire lip. Okay, so even on top of the darker colors, I'm just going to wipe the dark color from the brush, and now take this, stretch MJ, like smile like that. Yeah, I'm going to start layering that all over the lip. So the areas that we've kept darker underneath, it's going to create a lovely depth. So sometimes very flat red lips can actually just look dimensionless, and this gives it a lot more dimension. Stretch. Right, I'm just taking some more of the same, and can you see the darkness underneath gives it a lot of drama, which is what I was wanting for this look, because we've kept the skin and the eyes very classic. I've cleaned around the lip. Before I'm going to go any further, I'm going to apply some Anastasia Dewy Set on her face. And I'm going to use my beauty blender and just kind of, just turn this side, MJ. I'm going to blend her entire face one more time. Sponge it up again. Under the eyes, on the sides of the cheek, because before I add a little bit of powder on her face, as in powder, highlighter, etc. Just gonna set that up again. Alright, and I'm gonna go back in now, finish the lip by adding some of Lady Balls. It's the Too Faced Melted Matte Stretch. Just in the center of the lip, I'm gonna add some of that, just to amp up that red. And now I'm gonna go in with my Narcissist palette. This is their cheek palette, Unfiltered 2, and I'm gonna use this kind of doll kind of a color called Candid, and I'm gonna mix it with Fame. So Fame and Candid, just take these two, smile, and I'm gonna add that to her cheek for this really kind of rosy, glowy finish. I'm just going to buff this in a little bit so it doesn't look too powdery. It's more like her own skin. And then I'm going to take some Soft and Gentle by MAC, which is a very famous highlighter. Most everybody who's a makeup enthusiast knows about it. I'm going to go over her neck, turn this side, almost the side. It's like a C I'm going in. Can you see? It's like a C, the letter C. So turn around here again. I'm going to go around it like a C, because this is where the light will kind of naturally hit her face, and I'm just going to buff that in a little bit again. Turn this side. and we're just gonna apply that on her face. Just I tend to dab anywhere, even after I spray, especially when I'm doing a very glass-like kind of effect on the skin. The skin looks very glass-like, very soft and dewy, even though we've done a very striking look where eyes are concerned, because we've done an eyeliner and lashes and there's beautiful kind of depth, you know, red lip with the depth. The skin stays very like gorgeous and luminescent, so it adds very gorgeous kind of a doll-like effect, which is what I want to show. So be it any kind of skin that we're doing on our faces, you want to make sure that the skin is always glowy and soft. I hope you guys learned something. Can't wait to see your recreations.